And we're live! Hello, everybody! You know the drill. I'm going to... There we are. Just went. Going to quickly retweet it. You know how this works. Hold up 1 second. Also, my camera's not... Or my lamp isn't working, so sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what to tell ya. Retweet! Okay, now we're going over to the Facebooks. Y'all know how this works. Going to my personal profile, making sure it got shared there. And there's the live stream. We're live where y'all can see it. So fun. Do, 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 do. Okay, it's getting on the Facebooks. Sorry, y'all. This takes a minute every time. Takes a little bit of extra time. Podcast is live. He's alive. I'm weird, y'all. It's okay. Gonna go to Livy Dawn, make sure it's there. Sorry, y'all. I know the first few minutes of every video are always just a little weird. All right. Y'all ready for this? Okay, we're getting started. Welcome to Liv's Library. Woo! It's one of my favorite things to do. I always look forward to this Wednesday nights, and tonight is kind of special. I'm going to turn the camera down and make sure that we are in focus. You'll notice that I'm sitting right here, and there are 2 chairs next to me, but they're empty. I'm going to welcome 2 of the coolest people in my life, and they just happen to be related to me. I'm going to welcome Noah. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah. Yeah, this is my little brother. It is his birthday today, and he is taking time out of his 14th birthday to come and participate in this particular podcast. Thank you, Noah.
You're very welcome, sister.
But there's still another chair right here. Who on earth could fill that particular spot? It's none other than another one of my wonderful brothers, Christian. Woohoo! Yeah. And apparently he doesn't know when to enter.
Yeah.
Christian! Yay! Okay, you're going to have to make sure that you fit in the screen because that's all the room I have.
You're like the one who's not.
Well, I'm trying. Okay, please sit straight so that I can make sure we all fit.
Okay.
We might have another wonderful guest on the podcast a little later, but we're just going to get started and we're going to keep going. This is going to be one of our shorter podcasts, and the reason for that is just because it is Noah's birthday. We do have some family traditions that we're going to do, and we're going to make sure that we spend a little bit of time with him tonight. So we're just going to get started right away. Okay, you guys. Now, as I start every podcast, I ask these particular questions. Okay, so I'm going to ask these questions. We're going to start with Noah first and then go to Christian, and it's a lightning round. So you got to say the first thing that comes into your head, okay? What is your favorite quote?
Probably the one by John Adams where he says that communism always wastes exhausts and merges itself over time. I thought that was kind of cool, and it helps me to get a little perspective when I study history. So.
Very, very cool. Thank you, Noah. And Christian, don't be eating while we're doing this podcast. What would you say your favorite quote is?
The one by Benjamin Franklin that talks about sleep.
And what is that quote?
Wow.
I don't have it memorized. It's really good though.
Is it the early to bed, early to rise one?
Here you go. Yeah.
Okay, I said the first part. How does it go?
Makes men healthy, wealthy, and wise.
All right. If it's your favorite quote, you should probably have it memorized.
Right.
Okay, so we're going back to Noah again. Noah, what is your current favorite song?
You know what? I'm gonna have to say what's the one like Good to Be Alive, Red Bone. I really like that song. It's like got a catchy.
Honey, I'm Good by Andy Grammer.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like that one.
That's a good one. Okay, and Christian, what is your favorite
Song?
current favorite song?
Current.
Well, favorite songs. I think for me, my favorite song changes all the time, so that's why I say
It's
current.
true.
I don't know. There's a lot. It's like picking a favorite sister.
Isn't that what you're doing?
You have 5 of them, but we all know who your favorite is.
Yeah.
So what's your
Wait,
current
what?
favorite song?
Oh, I like.
Isn't this supposed to like be a lightning round?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm.
So like
What's this?
I don't know what song it is.
The Star Wars theme song.
Okay. All
I was
right.
thinking like the Indiana Jones theme song.
Noah, you're both thinking theme songs. Okay. Noah, what is
No. Rocky theme song. Sorry.
Oh, that's a good one too.
the da-na-na, da-na-na? Don't have the right
That
step.
always pumps me up.
Oh, it's a very good one to take to the gym. Okay, Noah, what is a unique fact about yourself?
Let's see. What is it called when you like roll your tongue?
You can roll your tongue?
Yeah.
All right. Can I do that? Yeah! Christian, can you roll your tongue?
I'm not gonna try.
Okay, Christian, what's a unique fact about yourself?
I am really awesome.
That is not a unique fact about yourself.
There are not very many really awesome people in the world, so that is very unique.
You are very humble also. Okay, Noah, you have to look straight at the camera for this one, and you are going to give your favorite funny face. Go. That was a good
That was
one.
terrible.
That was a good one. I like it.
Okay.
All right, and Christian, same thing. Look straight at the camera. Make your favorite funny face. Go. For those of you not watching, he covered his face. That was great. Okay, so this is for those who are just listening to the audio, not actually watching the video portion. What is your favorite animal noise?
I like the elephant, but I've never quite gotten it right.
Okay, you gotta try.
Okay. Okay, that was bad, but I've never quite gotten it. I'm like look up how to do that on YouTube or something.
Oh, there you
like,
go.
like how to like shape your mouth and like I don't know, like where to put your teeth and stuff. But yeah, that's my favorite.
That's great. Christian, what is your favorite animal sound?
I really like what Fox says.
What does a fox say?
You just have to imagine it, and that's.
You
whatever.
have to make the sound.
No,
I'm
you
just
just
kidding.
sing a song.
I like a rhinoceros.
What does a
What does a
rhinoceros
rhinoceros
sound
say?
like?
Okay, I like a monkey.
Well, you have to make the
Ooh,
sound.
ooh, ooh.
I don't think that's a monkey. I think
Gorilla.
that's a
It's gotta be something.
Okay, Noah, what is your favorite cheese?
Cheese.
Yep.
Probably pepper jack.
Yeah. And Christian, what's your favorite cheese?
Swiss.
Swiss?
I'm not like Swiss. His
I
favorite
do
pepper jack.
not like Swiss.
It's the
Swiss
most
is
healthy.
nasty. Yeah, as
Okay.
you can tell.
What is your favorite cereal, Noah?
Fruit Loops, but my mom never buys them, so that's kind of stinky.
And Christian, what's your favorite cereal?
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Those are very good. Okay, so Noah, this one is going to be a question I ask you, and then again, Christian, we're going to go to you. But this particular question will kind of lead us into the topic. So Noah, what is a book that you're currently reading?
Let's see. I'm reading The Maze Runner right now. That's pretty much the only one. And for school, I'm reading The Chosen, and that's about a family it's World War II time period. It's about a family who immigrated from England or from Germany, I think, in the United States, and they're really religious, and it gives you perspective on World War II. So that's interesting. I just finished reading Communist Manifesto for political science, and that I did not get at all. It was hard to understand.
That one's a hard one to read for sure. Well, it sounds like you've been reading a lot of really great and very diverse books.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Christian, what are some of the books that you've been reading recently? What's probably a book that you're most currently reading?
Well, recently, really recently.
Currently?
Okay, well, a few minutes ago, I was reading my sister Yertle the Turtle. So does that count?
Yertle the Turtle.
All right, we'll go with that. Okay, so today, normally I try and carry those books into the government, and Christian, we're going to use your book and relate it to the political system. The particular
topic.
I'm
gonna change it then.
No, I think that's a great book. We're going to go with that one. And we're just barely introducing the topic. So the topic for this particular episode is caucuses. And the reason why we're going to be doing the episode is based on caucuses is because here in Utah tomorrow, which is April, it's March 22nd. It's the Utah Democratic and Republican caucuses. And so we are going to be participating in that. And if you want to know how you can participate, go to caucus.utah.gop to find out where your caucus is meeting. And I encourage you all to do that. We're going to talk a little bit more about why it is so important to participate in the caucus system. And to kind of segue into that, Christian, you mentioned that you were most recently reading Yertle the Turtle. So how would you tie in the book Yertle the Turtle into the political system?
Yertle the Turtle? Can I choose a different Dr. Seuss book?
I guess if you want to.
Okay, I choose Green Eggs and Ham. And if you think about it, it kind of relates to communism. If you want, well, I don't know how that relates to the caucus. Well, I guess it does because we have a socialist running, and Hillary Clinton's pretty close to that. So.
Okay.
So yeah, socialism is basically where take people's stuff and give it to other people. Mm-hmm. So basically, like Robin Hood. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and also we're going to introduce one more guest. I told you we might have another guest, so I'm gonna bring another guest in for a little bit, and y'all are just gonna have to share chairs. So scoot over and welcome my mother. This is Teena. Hello.
Hello.
Are you falling off? Yes, I'm falling off.
Should we do what they do on the talk shows?
Hello. I've always wanted to do that. Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
This is my mother, and I have been interested in government for a really, really, really long time. And I would definitely acclaim all of my interest in government and politics and the way that government in every country, but specifically in our own, in the United States of America, how that works. And I acclaim all of that to my mother, who studied that in school and has carried on what she studied and taught it to the kids and taught it to all of us. And really, she instilled in me a love for government from a very young age, and she continues to do so. As you can see, I've got my brother who just turned 14 today. And hey, my birthday was last week, and I'm now 24. Yes, we're 10 years apart. 10 years in just a couple days. Like, what is it, 4 days?
Yeah.
So that's fun.
No, it's fine.
Is it 5 days? Oh yeah, it's 21.
Yeah.
4 birthdays in 5 days.
4 birthdays in 5 days.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
6 days.
6 days? No. But
we were
yeah,
just
it's
saying
gonna
that it's
take
5 days apart between the two of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, 16th to the 22nd.
21st.
21st.
21st. Tomorrow's the 22nd.
Tomorrow
And I know
is
his birthday's
caucus
on the
day.
21st, so. My brain is focused on caucus.
All right.
She's a legislative chair, so she's like she has to like write a speech tomorrow.
Well,
She-
I'm just in charge of caucus in my district, so.
Yep. Okay. So because I have a lot of my family here, and this is the benefit of having 10 kids in my family, I can ask my siblings and my parents to be co-hosts on my podcast, which means I never will run out of ideas and co-hosts to have discussions with.
Right, little bit.
That's okay. I can have Christy on a podcast.
That'd be interesting.
She's my 5-year-old baby sister, and
That'd be
that would
fun.
be fun. Just
5
turned
is
5,
in
2 days
3 days.
after my birthday, so very fun. Okay, so Mom, since you just joined us, and I kind of want to have a discussion between the 4 of us, why is the caucus system important, and why should everyone go and participate in the caucus
Okay, well,
meetings tomorrow?
before I do that, I want to address 2 things. And first of all, I wasn't quite sure how green eggs and ham related to communism. You didn't quite explain that very well.
Oh, okay.
I thought Yertle the Turtle was a great book to connect to
Read
government.
Yertle the Turtle, but go ahead.
Okay, so I have to remember, but it does. Just read it and you'll know.
Yeah, I remember he like freaked out because he figured out like a
Yeah.
connection. Because I think Dr.
Sam, I
Seuss-
am.
Yeah.
That's Uncle Sam, and then the other guy is like,
Yeah.
Try them, and you may try them. You may like them, I say.
something like that.
You're very good, Dr. Seuss.
I still don't quite get it, but maybe
Some
I'll-
in a house with a fox and a mouse, something like that.
Yeah. No, it was
Boat.
the house. And a tunnel in the ocean.
So what will end up happening is Christian has his own YouTube channel, and he will comment after this is over and explain it in detail in a comment under
Okay.
this video.
So anyway, so now I wanted to address something you said, and that was that I instilled in you a love of government, and I think maybe I would have, and I think I accomplished this. I think maybe this is what you meant to say, that I instilled in you a love of freedom and an understanding of how government is supposed to work.
Yes, I think that's true. What I specifically said, and I think that what you say is true, and then also the way that I said it is also something that I would say, because I find it fascinating to learn how government works in every country, in every clime. I think it's very, very interesting. I've gone through and done a lot of history, and when I'm studying the history of a country, I'm not necessarily studying individual people per se, but I'm studying more like what was going on in economics and who was the leader at the time and what were their policies and what were things that they did and how did that impact the country. So I think that's how I study history. Bless you. But I think that's how I study history, and it's a lot due to that. I do have such a love for freedom and such a love for this country, the United States of America, and that's definitely because of you. And then also my interest in studying governments as a whole came from that as well.
Okay, so I would say, first of all, I do love freedom and I do love liberty, and I understand that for government to function properly, the people have to participate, especially in the American government. John Adams said that a government of our kind requires the morality of the people, and if the people are not moral, then we have more need of masters. That might have actually been Benjamin Franklin, but at any rate, for people to be involved, they have to be good, and they have to be able to participate. Good in terms of they're not out stealing and robbing and doing all of those kind of things. So, because the more people choose evil, the more we have need of masters. It's like in a home. If the children are all good and happy, then everybody's happy. But if the children are doing things they shouldn't be doing, then there's more need of discipline. There's more need of someone who's there all the time watching. And so it's the same kind of thing.
So it requires self-government.
Yeah, especially our kind of government requires self-government for sure. That's a good way to put it. So I'll say that one of the most appalling things that I see is the apathy of the people who don't really care, and people who don't make any effort to understand what it's about. It's appalling, but it's also very scary because as this is played out again and again and again across our country, our freedoms are being destroyed, and people in positions of power and leadership are getting more power and leadership because they know how to work this system.
I think you're hitting on the point. Everyone. I think that right now a lot of people are in the mentality that ignorance is bliss, and so they just don't want to know what's going on. A lot of people don't necessarily want to know how bad. Like, they know, okay, the country's in bad shape, but they don't want to know how bad, and they don't want to know why. And if they don't know how bad and they don't know why, then they don't have to worry about it. And I think that's kind of the mentality that's going on in this country. It's very much, it's a general statement. It's not meant for everybody. We're not trying to offend everybody. It's just something that has been noticed. And I think that a lot of people have that issue where they feel like they are unable to do anything because they don't know, and then they don't have the motivation to figure it out.
Well, the nature of government is to centralize
power.
To centralize the power. So it's always grasping for power. And when people are willing to give it to them, when people are looking to government as the provider or the solution to their problems, then we are inviting government to participate more in our lives. When we exercise self-government, then we are allowing for more liberty. And we should never have the opinion that we can trust our leaders. We always watch them with jealous regard for our liberties, knowing that they have the power to infringe upon those liberties.
That's why Obama was such a bad president, because he centralized all the power, and he provided for the people, like things like healthcare and food stamps and needs of the people, and the people, it just kind of, I don't know how to put it.
They become dependent upon it.
And it really gives the government a lot more power than they should have. It's taking power away from the local governments and centralizing the federal governments.
And it de-incentivizes the people to be in charge of their own lives. So, it's all a big topic. We could take one topic at a time.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned something. You said it's very important for us to have a self-government. It's very important for us to regulate at our level so that doesn't take place at the federal level. So that, I think, is where caucuses come in as a big thing. And the biggest reason why I wanted to talk about caucuses is because they are tomorrow for everyone here in the state of Utah. And there's a lot of people throughout the entire country who will eventually be able to participate in caucuses. And I think it's so, so important to be able to go and participate, because it is an opportunity for us to regulate that system at a very local level and participate and to be. And so why would you say that because the caucus system has been under attack. A lot of people don't believe that it does what it's supposed to do.
Well, it's been under attack in Utah. Utah's caucus is a lot different than a lot of caucuses around the country. They don't do it the way we do it.
There was the bill, like SB 54, was to replace the caucus system, right?
Yeah, that was just defeated.
Yeah, that's every year. There's a bill like that.
Yeah.
Yep, they come out with one every year.
Well, it was passed last year, and then there was a huge fight about it. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. But people already across the nation have already participated in. A lot of people call it their caucuses, but really it's been primaries for a lot of states, which basically means when this whole presidential process of nominating a Republican candidate started, it started at Iowa. Well, before then, all the nominees, people who wanted to run for president, said, "I'm running for president, vote for me." And we had, I don't know how many candidates, 15,
A lot.
something like that.
And this is how it works in both the Republican and Democratic parties.
But we've only had 2.
No, there was 5.
There were more than the 2.
Right, there were 5 or 6. But anyway,
are both Bernie and Hillary still running?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll both be in it until the convention when it will be decided to one. But what happens is that at each caucus, which began, let's say, in Iowa first, the people went out and they voted for who they wanted as their choice for a presidential candidate, and then those results were published, and all the candidates can see how the people felt about them. And in Iowa, we had a number of candidates that went away because they had virtually no support, and they could see that they were not going to win. And besides that, campaigns are very expensive, and so they need people who are going to fund them. And so if they don't have funding, people are not going to fund a losing candidate, so their funding dries up and they have to go away. So as that whole process has gone from state to state, the candidate list has gone down, until we have the Republican race right now of Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and John Kasich. So Utah has their caucus tomorrow, and after their caucus tomorrow, they're going to send a message to the candidates once again as to who they want, and not only to as Utahns, we're going to see who we support, but the whole nation is going to look at us and say, because there's a big controversy as to who can win. The media is going to make you think that Ted Cruz has no chance because he's behind Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is the only candidate at this point that can win. But that's not the truth. Ted Cruz can win, but the problem is that we have a spoiler in the race, and the spoiler's name is John Kasich, because really he should not have any funding right now to stay in the race, but he's got someone who's backing him, who's the name of George Soros, who you want to look him up. He's not a great guy. And so because he's being funded by someone who's not even American, and most people don't know this, he's still in the race, and he's in the race because they don't want Ted Cruz to, at least the establishment does not want Ted Cruz. What's happening right now is that people are angry. People are really angry at Washington. And so we have Donald Trump and Ted Cruz that represent basically the same thing, because the people who are angry are adhering to those candidates. But the difference between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz is that they represent polar opposites of the Republican Party. Ted Cruz represents the Constitution. Donald Trump just
He's more of the liberal side of things.
Right. He's very liberal. In fact, he keeps saying he's changing the party. He's brought in a lot of new voters, and those voters are Democrats. And so that should be a little bit of a clue to us that maybe he's not our candidate, since he's bringing in Democratic voters. Anyway.
So here's a question then. I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. If Donald Trump is bringing Democratic voters to the Republican Party, doesn't that benefit the Republican Party? Because you've got Democrats who are then losing the support and the vote, which means that
no,
because they're not going to vote.
The trend has been in Congress that Republicans and Democrats, especially the establishment, are moving closer and closer to the same thing. And so that's not going to help our party. In fact, it will destroy our party, because if Donald Trump were to become president, we would discover that his policies would be very, very liberal, and the people who are angry will become more angry, and it would be just a really bad scenario. So
why is the caucus important?
So the reason why the caucus is important, long answer to still not an easy question, is because people go to the caucus, and it's their opportunity to participate. It's really not an easy answer. And in Utah, it's different this year because we have a presidential election, and we have combined our caucus with a presidential primary. And it's really not even a primary, because it's more like a straw poll that's going to tell our national delegates who Utah wants as their Republican presidential candidate. And then those national delegates, when they go to the Republican convention, I think it's in the beginning of July, are then obligated, at least in the first round of voting, to vote for who the people of Utah, the majority of the people of Utah, wanted. So tomorrow, when we go to caucus, we are also going to be able to participate in this, what we call the presidential preference vote. And based on the outcome of that, we have delegates, I think in Utah it's about 40, that will be awarded to the winner. Now, it's winner takes all with the majority.
If they have above 50% of the vote.
51%.
If they have 51%?
Yes.
That's more than 50.
So if a majority is not 50, a majority is 51.
Yeah.
So if they get 51%, then that candidate will get all of the delegates. So John Kasich can keep there's no way John Kasich is going to win. He knows that. But if he can get Ted Cruz from getting 51% of the vote, then Ted Cruz is not going to get all the delegates. And that is going to put him in a path that's really hard to get that presidential nomination. But it's not because Donald Trump has the majority of support. It's because John Kasich is a spoiler to keep Ted Cruz from getting. People don't want John Kasich, but he's campaigning really hard in Utah. And
sorry, that's our phone. I apologize.
It's your sister. Yeah, why don't you go silent? You can even like turn it down all the way.
Yeah, turn it off.
So anyway, in addition to the presidential preference vote, we also participate in what is the caucus system. So really, the presidential preference is not part of the caucus system,
right?
But the caucus, the thing that impacts the presidential debate at caucus is that, first of all, we elect precinct leadership, leaders that run the caucus and attend some meetings during the year to take care of the business of the Republican Party for our county, and then we also elect what we call delegates. We elect two kinds of delegates. We elect county delegates that take care of the county candidates, and we have state delegates who decide upon the state representatives. For example, the state would be Senate, it would be House of Representatives, it will be governor, and it will be well, no, it's not president. It's governor, Senate, House, and like lieutenant governor, attorney general. Now,
this is, I just want to say this, that we're talking about the Republican Party mostly because the presidential candidates in the Republican Party are more controversial, I believe. I believe that in the Democratic Party, it's not so controversial. I think everyone's kind of decided who they want on that side anyway. Well, and this is how it works in both parties. Essentially, it's the same idea.
It's kind of the same idea. The Democrat delegates.
I thought you turned it down. I did.
The Democrat delegates, their delegates are influenced a lot by what they call super PACs, who the super PACs or the super delegates have more influence in their votes than regular delegates. So it's a little bit hard always to know what's going to happen, and so I don't want to get into that, but it's still very up in the air as to who's could get it. But most likely it's going to be Hillary because of those super delegates.
You really think that Bernie Sanders could win the Democratic ticket?
Last Tuesday he didn't do very well, but before that he has.
I feel like everyone kind of has forgotten Bernie Sanders' name because nobody's taking him seriously.
Well, I know a lot of people that say they vote for Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton just because of the dishonesty.
Yeah, it's a serious concern. So anyway, also at the state convention, we elect national delegates. The national delegates then go to the National Republican Convention, where the candidate for Republican presidential or the Republican presidential nominee will be decided.
How many national delegates are elected?
There's something like 2,400 something or 700 something. I can't remember exactly, but
700 and 2,000 are very different numbers.
No, for anywhere from 2,400 to 2,700.
Okay,
it's somewhere in there.
I was like, what?
So the threshold that a candidate needs to be able to get the nomination is 1,237.
Okay.
And so because of the spoiler, John Kasich, he's going to keep Ted Cruz, who would be in the lead, from getting that threshold. Marco Rubio did the same thing. He stayed in too long. He lost his state.
Otherwise, Ted Cruz would have all those states last week.
All of those delegates
that 3%.
All of those people who voted for Rubio would have gone to Cruz, and Cruz would have won every one of those states but Ohio. So that really changed things up quite a bit. So Marco Rubio should have got out before then, and it was really bad for him because he lost his state also. It looked really bad.
And Missouri still is too close to call. It was like,
it was 0.2. Are they still recounting or something?
It's leaning towards Trump, but it's too close to call.
They still haven't called it?
Yeah. Still haven't.
Wow.
So, okay,
it's
so here's
a very big deal. I mean, it's a very big deal.
I find it fascinating that you're explaining how everything works. Here's a question for you, rather than explaining how everything works. I mean, that's very important, but why is it so important for people to be involved? And this is a question that I wanted you two on for, because neither of you are eligible to vote right now. I mean, you're 16, you're 14, and you're both not eligible and able to vote, but you are both involved and you both know what's going on in politics. So I'm wondering, why is it so important for people to be involved? And you two, why is it so important for you to be involved even when you don't really have the opportunity to vote and have a voice?
Well, I have something to say. So, well, the reason why it's important to be involved is because if you're not involved, if you're not voting, then you can't complain about the problems that are going on in our country. You have absolutely no room to talk. You can't complain about Obamacare or any of the bad policies that have been put in place by President Obama. You can't do that. You only have the right to complain if you were there fighting for what you believed in. And so that's what I think, and I think that that's a problem.
I know someone very well who is passionate about liberty and freedom and conservatism and constitutionalism, and she absolutely never votes. I'm not quite sure how you can be so passionate about liberty and freedom and constitution and conservatism and never vote.
Voting is the ultimate way to be able to share. This is what my opinion is. Voting is the ultimate way to be able to tell the country what you think.
Voting is an obligation. It is a duty. If you fail to vote, you are failing as a citizen of our nation. And voting is not just going, I can say this so strongly because I'm not sitting in front of somebody, but voting is not going to the polls and simply voting about someone you know nothing about because they are a Republican or a Democrat
or a constitutionalist or a Green Party.
Why are we so afraid of truth? Why do we support candidates that don't represent what we don't believe? Why would someone want a candidate who has cheated on his wife, he has lied over and over and over again, has done who has incited violence or at least encouraged it at his rallies? Why would we? What are some other things?
That brings up another thing. It's like, not only do you have the obligation to vote, but you also need to do your research on the candidates. Because if you're just going out there and voting, like saying, oh, Donald Trump's a businessman, he can help us with deals with foreign countries, that sounds like a good thing. Well, on the contrary, Donald Trump has done all these things that I'm on this list.
Well, I think it's really interesting to use Donald Trump as an example because he is someone who's running. People think, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because it looks like he's successful in business. Yeah. But here's the secret that a lot of people don't know about Donald Trump. He did none of those things. The success he has in his businesses, he had no involvement at all. It was inherited. And then he just sits there and says, you're fired. That's all Donald Trump has ever done.
Okay, I don't want to get on a bashing.
I'm not trying to, but like that's as far as business success, that is a fact. He didn't do the things that have earned him the money he has.
This is my problem. And the people who support Donald Trump turn it right back around and just put it back at you. But at least I have done my research. I know the candidates I support. I know where they stand. I know how they voted. I've watched them. I've studied them, and not just for a couple of months. I've watched Ted Cruz for 6 years. He's only been a senator for 6 years, not even 6 years. He's been a senator for 4 years, and he's done amazing things. Now, obviously, you can tell I'm for Ted Cruz. However, the thing that is upsetting to me is that we should be able to have a conversation. We should be able to say, so why do you support Donald Trump? And they can say, why do you support Ted Cruz? And we can share with one another. Well, and someone should be able to say to me, well, I don't like Ted Cruz. I have people who I've talked to who don't like Ted Cruz. I ask them, tell me why you don't like Ted Cruz. And they tell me why they don't like Ted Cruz. I have no problem with why they don't like Ted Cruz. I might say, well, this is what I believe about Ted Cruz. And they can take what I give them and they can walk away and they can decide for themselves. But don't not.
That's how it should be.
Don't just shut out information because you think Donald Trump is your guy and he's your guy no matter what. And anybody who talks against him just doesn't like Donald Trump.
I think if you genuinely want to vote for Donald Trump, because I feel like Donald Trump is a really good example just because he is such a controversial person. And there are so many people, who make comments. That I watched a video the other day from a girl on YouTube who said, "Can you believe that people are actually supporting Donald Trump?" That's a better joke than any of the jokes I just told in my video. I thought it was hilarious just because she was pointing out the fact that he's so, what's the word? He's so polarizing in the fact that he draws one particular type of person to him because of the way he speaks and the things he says. And I just, if you really genuinely believe that he will be the best person for president, then fine, vote for him. But here's the thing. Don't be thinking that Donald Trump is the only option. You have to look at everyone and you have to make an educated decision. And if Donald Trump, in your educated decision, is the best candidate, then vote for Donald Trump, because
I know
you need to have your own opinion. You need to have your own mind made up.
There are certain formulas that you can use to be able to know what candidate you should vote for. And one of the equations that I know is that by their fruits ye shall know them. And that's easy. You can watch your candidate, you can observe how they treat people, you can listen to how they're talking. Someone told me the other day they didn't like some of Ted Cruz's mannerisms. They're like when someone's asking him a question, he kind of goes like this and he has kind of a little chuckle, and that came across to them as being, it turned them off. Now, I don't know that those kind of things should be something by which you decide who you're going to vote for as a candidate, but you definitely should be able to look at a candidate who uses foul language or stomps on people who oppose him and just speaks so offensively about anybody who offends him or he doesn't like or who says something against them. It's just, why would you think someone like that would be any different when he gets into a position of president of the United States, which is an extremely, it's a position of power, it's a position of stress, it's a position of criticism, because you are the center of attention and people are always looking at you and they're going to be coming at you all the time. And if you can't handle that criticism, what are you going to do? He's kept journalists out of his rallies, from attending his rallies. Recently, he grabbed a journalist that had been asking, it wasn't him. The journalist, and it was even a journalist that worked for a company that was pro-Trump, really pro-Trump. And the campaign manager did not like the questions that she was asking Trump. And so when he thought no one could see, although it was in a room full of people, he grabbed her arm and yanked her back so hard that she almost fell to the ground. She had bruises on her arm. And then he denied even knowing.
And then he was caught on tape.
And then it was caught on tape.
Oh my gosh.
Another example of Donald Trump is that he was recently in an interview with ABC, and he literally walked out of that interview into another interview
and said completely different things
and totally contradicted what he gave to the same question in the other interview 2 minutes apart.
Another thing is, like, it's funny because I was watching like an interview. I don't know if it was Fox or if it was CNN or ABC or any. I don't know which one it was, but the news anchor was describing a candidate, and so he was like, it was actually a girl. She was introducing the opinions of this specific candidate, and she asked Trump if he could guess which candidate she was talking about, and he said that the candidate that she was talking about was him, but it actually turned out to be Bernie Sanders. And I think that's kind of weird that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, who are on different parties, who have different opinions, are so much alike. Like really? I thought that was
And-
funny and astonishing.
And he switched political parties how many
Like
times?
5
7,
times over.
5.
So, it's by your fruits you shall know them. You should be able to observe those things and know right away. Why would you expect? Here we have been with a president for 8 years that has lied to us and lied to us and lied to us and used executive orders to make law and to do things that normally take the legislative actions of Congress and the Senate, or the House and the Senate, and we have Obama doing it with the stroke of the pen. Why on earth would we think that Trump would do anything
He
different?
would use that power. He would like perversely use that power.
Oh, he would probably multiply what Obama has done. I mean, it's frightening. It's frightening. Let's please not find out what it would be like to be under Trump. And a lot of people are using the excuse that, or the reason is the better word, as to why they're voting for Trump is because they say Trump is the only one that can beat Hillary Clinton, and that is absolutely not true.
All the
People
polls
have polled.
Yeah.
He's losing it all.
There was like Glenn Beck, who's like in charge. He's like the president of the Blaze. He's the founder of the Blaze. He went and he found as many polls as he could that related Cruz and Hillary and Trump and Hillary, and he found one poll that had Donald Trump beating Hillary by 3%, I think it was, out of dozens of polls that they found, which Cruz was beating Hillary or either tying Hillary or beating her by a large amount. I don't know.
So what this tells you is that don't trust the media, don't trust polls. I mean, well, the polls are telling who's really going to win, but you have to be careful of polls because people can use polls to lie. But when you have so many polls that are saying the same thing, then you can probably put some bacon there. But I don't think we should ever use the reason for voting for Trump because we think Trump is the only one that can beat Hillary when we don't like Trump. That's not the reason we should use to vote for a candidate. The reason we should use is because it is the candidate that most represents, go turn it off. The candidate that most represents our values. We should not be electing people because we think they can beat Hillary. We should be electing people because they will represent we the people, the way our values and our Constitution is meant to function.
I agree. And I think that we're going to kind of close the podcast now. We've gone for an hour, and I think that's enough. One of the biggest reasons, like I said, the biggest reason for me wanting to host this particular podcast, and
Olivia,
yeah,
you're going to end, but let me say one thing because
Okay.
I never did answer your question. And the reason why caucus is so important is because delegates have power. Delegates decide who you vote for. If you're a delegate, then you decide who the general population is going to vote for, who is going to be on the actual ticket. We do all in the Republican nominating process. We help whittle down the candidates to 2 candidates, but it's the delegates that decide who is ultimately going to be on there, and it is that way in Utah for every race.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just to close, I mean, it is the whole reason for wanting to do this particular podcast is to point out the reasons why it is so important to be involved in politics. I mean, you've got my 14-year-old brother, you've got my 16-year-old brother who was just here, my mother, and myself. I mean, we're all very different in age, and yet we all believe that it is important to be involved in whichever capacity we're able. I am going to be participating in caucuses. Again, I encourage each and every one of you to find your caucus, go and participate, whether it be Democratic or Republican, constitutional or Green Party. Those are the 4 parties. Those are the 4 parties, right? Independent doesn't have a caucus. There is an independent caucus. So it's just there's the 4 different party caucuses. In Utah, we have all 4 of them. We've got 2 tomorrow night. Republican and Democrat are going to be tomorrow night.
Constitution is coming up.
Is constitutional?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, there you go. So you've got 3 different parties going tomorrow night, and then you've got others that are going to be having their caucus meetings here in the near future. And so that is so, so important. If you want to know how to participate in your caucus, go to caucus.utah.gop to find out the location for where you're supposed to meet and how to register. I think it might be too late to register to participate, but you can still show up and affiliate there at the meeting. And it's so, so important. It's so, so important to participate in government. Make your voice heard. Be educated on what you are voting on, and then make your decision. Make sure that you are making the decisions that control this country, not letting someone else do it.
So I would especially say that if you support Ted Cruz, you better get out to vote, because he's going to need every vote to get what he needs to win.
Yes,
and to send a message to the rest of the nation that Ted Cruz really can win.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say knowledge is power. And when you inform yourself, you do not allow yourself to be manipulated or to be used as a useful idiot. And I guarantee you that people who are in positions of power who abuse that power consider people who are uninformed as useful to their purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the end of the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Mom, thanks for joining us, because you definitely had some great things to say. I learned a lot, and I know that there were other people commenting on the live stream who were saying that they were learning a lot. And I think that it's so, so important. We're going to close by doing the same thing that we do at the end of every podcast. We go through and we talk about what our weekly obsession is. So, Mom, we're going to start with you.
My weekly obsession for sure are birthdays, of which I've had 4 in the last, how many days?
5.
And caucus, which is tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. Christian, what's your weekly obsession, Ben?
The same obsession that I always have.
And what is that?
That's basketball.
Basketball. Okay, Christian. Noah, what's your weekly obsession?
Well,
in the last week, what have you been most obsessed with? What have you most?
Last week.
In the last 7 days.
Okay. Well, I have been researching a lot about that kind of stuff, but I've also been working on Spanish. I don't know why I can't stop learning.
Say something.
I don't know why I can't stop learning Spanish, but I'm like always on there. So I think that's my weekly obsession, is learning Spanish.
That's a good one. That's a good one for sure. I think it's interesting you said that, because my weekly obsession has been German on Duolingo, because I think that app is wonderful, and I've been learning some fun things. So I think it's really, really fun. But then my other weekly obsession, which I just had to bring up really fast, other than caucuses, because I felt like the whole conversation was on caucuses and the political system. So that's not what my weekly obsession was that I chose to share. My weekly obsession this week is this Plum Lip Shimmer by Burt's Bees. It's the color I'm currently wearing. It is the same color as my shirt, and I am absolutely in love with it. These tinted lip shimmers from Burt's Bees, I love them because they give your lip a little tingle. They keep them moisturized because there's a lip balm in them, and then it also has some color and shimmer to it. I think it's very, very pretty. It immediately gives a pop of color to your face. I really haven't been wearing a lot of makeup other than this lipstick, and that's what I've been doing these last couple of days, is using the Burt's Bees. So that's been my weekly obsession. And with that, we're going to close out. Remember, you guys know my outro?
No.
Stay beautiful.
Oh, well, not yet, not yet. So first of all, remember, smile, know that I love you, and stay beautiful. Bye. Mwah.